In this video, I'm going to be explaining what canon deaths and lives are. We're also going to be checking out how many lives each of the players on the Dream SMP actually have, and just explaining what canon means, because I know a lot of you don't understand it yet, so hopefully after this video you'll get a full explanation. But before we do get into the video, make sure you are subscribed and you hit that like button, but with that said, let's get straight into it. Now before we explain the life and death system, we need to kind of get an understanding of what canon actually means. Now canon is basically the storyline or the fictional events which happen on the server, which means all of the wars and everything like that. This is counted as the storyline for the Dream SMP, and that is kind of basically why I explain on my YouTube channel. All of the events like wars, the things that Tommy has been doing recently with Technoblade and other people, this is all counted in as the storyline and not just playing Minecraft basically. Now with the canon deaths and life system, basically each player on the server in the storyline will have 3 lives. This is actually a very common thing across many video games and stories, where each person will have 3 lives, and once they've lost them all, they either basically get turned into a ghost or just kicked out of the storyline. Now one of the most recent canon deaths on the server was actually Quackity's. Basically, if you didn't watch the last video, when he confronted Technoblade in that little hallway and Technoblade kills him, that would have been written into the story, and that would count as his character basically losing one of his lives. And you may be thinking, does that mean Technoblade lost his life when he was executed on the stage in L'Manberg? And actually no. We all see that he had a totem of undying and it basically revived him after he died, but in the storyline that would have been written. That doesn't count as a death, even though the anvil dropped on him, and it still counts as him being killed and then revived automatically. It doesn't actually count as a canonical death, it's just kind of going on the thing of Technoblade never dying. So now that you have an understanding of what canon means and how the lives work, and an example of somebody dying and losing their canon life, let's check out all of the players on the Dream SMP and see how many lives they have each. Now luckily enough for us, somebody on the Dream SMP Wikipedia actually listed everybody's names and how many lives they have each. I'll drop the link down in the description if you want to check that out. But in the people who have 3 lives, there is Alyssa, Antfrost, Awesome Dude, Captain Puffy, Connor Eats Pants, Eric, H-Bomb, Jack Manifold, Laserbeam, Pokimane, Puns, Purpled, Ranboo, Sapnap, Skeppy, Technoblade, and Vicstar123. Now obviously people like Pokimane and maybe Corpse Husband, who's been on the server recently, obviously won't be in the story, so they won't actually lose their canon life. But if we move on quickly to the people who have 2 lives remaining, that contains Bad Boy Halo, who was killed by Technoblade in the Manberg Massacre. There's Callahan, who was also killed by Technoblade in the same event. Then there's Fundy, who was killed in the final control room. There's George, who was assassinated by Technoblade when he was made king. There's Carl, who died in a planned explosion to frame Eric. There's Niachu, who was killed by Technoblade in that event again, and Ponk was killed by Technoblade in the same event. And if we move on to the 1 lives remaining, there's Filza, who apparently only gets 1 life due to his nature of playing hardcore. There's Quackity, who was killed by Technoblade in the Crossfire during the Manberg Festival, and was also killed by Technoblade in the final control room, which we actually saw yesterday. There's Tommy, who was killed in the final control room, and was killed by Dream during the final duel in the L'Manberg Revolution. And then we see Tubbo, who was killed in the final control room during the L'Manberg Revolution, and was also executed by Technoblade on Schlatt's command. And if we quickly move on to the 0 lives remaining, so the dead people on the server, this contains Wilbur, and as we all know, he's turned into Ghostbur, but he has no canon lives left, so he basically can't die at this point. And his deaths consisted of dying in the final control room in the L'Manberg Revolution. He was also killed by Puns on Schlatt's order on the day of the election, and he was finally killed by Filza on his own request. Then we move on to Schlatt, who was killed by Technoblade in the Manberg Festival due to Crossfire, killed by Quackity on the day after the festival, and as we all saw, he had a heart attack during the Manberg versus Pogtopia war. And then we move on to Mexican Dream, who was killed by Dream in Logstadshire. But, you know, yeah. Now apparently on the Wikipedia, there's also Dream in an unknown list, so we don't know how many lives he has, and the only time he's basically died in the storyline is when he got run over by Tommy on the railway skirmish, and he basically just fell out of the world and got hit by the minecart. Now I hope this video helped you out. If you could please follow me on Twitter at KianKSG, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and if you haven't picked up any 100k merch yet, then make sure you do in the description. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video.